Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Did you know that in a kosher kitchen you may use glass dishes for either meat or dairy and simply wash them in between each use? Also, if you happen to eat cold dairy on a meat dish or cold meat on a dairy dish, the dish and the food are still considered kosher. If a piece of cold meat accidentally touches a piece of cold cheese in your fridge, you can just cut off a little bit of the meat or a little bit of the cheese, and both will be considered kosher again. Each time the esteemed Rabbi Joel Roth would teach his rabbinical students one of these leniencies, he would then implore us, "Don't tell anyone." The otherwise brilliant Rabbi Joel Roth was afraid that if we told our congregants, our statements would trigger a slippery slope. If the Jewish people only knew these leniencies, Rabbi Roth reasoned, they would take every possible leniency, abandoning halakha or Jewish law altogether. Even worse, these leniencies may be too complicated for the average Jew to understand, and therefore it would make halakha even less accessible. According to Rabbi Roth, some modicum of ignorance is bliss. With all due respect to one of the most dedicated, prolific rabbis of our time, I disagree with Rabbi Joel Roth. Especially as outlined in Parashat Vaetchanan, our Jewish tradition demands not only knowledge, but transparency and communication of that knowledge. The more people learn about the reasons behind Jewish law, the more people have reasons to practice. The more people learn about the leniencies in Jewish practice, the more aware we are that making little mistakes does not ruin everything. The more Jews know, the more accessible and grounded in real, everyday life our Judaism can become. Throughout Parashat Vaetchanan, the parsha in which we experience both the Ten Commandments and the Shema, the verbal roots for knowing, Yud Daled Ayin, or Yada, and learning, Lamed Mem Daled, proliferate. Again and again, we are told to teach our children about God's words. We are told to listen to God's words so that we may learn, so that we may perform God's commandments, keep our holy land, and live a long life. That limud and da'at, learning and knowledge, have implications for our Jewish future, our everyday actions, the place we inhabit, and our overall well-being. Perhaps the most memorable use of one of these verbs in our parsha is V'yadata hayom v'hashevota elevavecha ki Adonai hu ha'elohim v'shamayim mimal ve'al ha'aretz mitachat einod. And you shall know today, and you shall return to your heart, as Adonai is God in the heavens above and earth below. There is no other, or there is no more. There is nothing else. Ultimately, the more we know about our Jewish tradition, the more we develop our awareness of and appreciation for the unity of everything and everyone that is. All are created by the same God, no exceptions. Knowledge is certainly power, but not if we keep it to ourselves. The more people know, the greater and more informed our choices, and the greater and more diverse our access to resources. The more we know, the more we are aware of how much we do not and cannot know. Therefore, the greater our humility. Of course, the power of transparency and knowledge extends far beyond Jewish law and practice. On this day of our board installation, coming in just a few minutes, I remind our congregational leadership of the importance of transparency and clarity in communication. As we are blessed to be in a community that finds out everything instantly anyway, we might as well think strategically and compassionately about how to share information about finances, hiring, and what we need to continue our congregational success. In a part of our parasha that comes after today's reading, Moshe hands us the familiar commandment, V'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam, and teach these commandments to your children and speak of them again and again. When we make the choice to invest time and energy into the Jewish education of our children and our grandchildren, we ensure that Our legacy lives on. The more our children know about and are familiar with Jewish space and Jewish tradition, the more they are empowered with the tools to build the next generation of Jews and instill our Jewish values into the world around us. Beyond Jewish community, when we make sure that our children are exposed to multiple points of view, multiple lifestyles in our wider educational system, we give them a wealth of experiences to influence their future journeys and relationships. As our kids will learn about the world one way or another, we have to teach them early and intentionally. We must not shy away from teaching about the societal mistakes we've made in our past. Instead, our transparency in teaching can help them to learn from our triumphs and our challenges alike, to build a world better than we or our ancestors could ever have imagined. Very soon after I began serving as a rabbi, I learned that I would perpetually have a pile of articles and books on my desk that had been handed to me by people like these wonderful people who are here in this room. Half of my inbox would be articles about the present and future of Judaism from a wide variety of perspectives. I am honored to be one of those people that you share your wisdom with time and time again. Now that you are already doing the work of sharing your knowledge with clarity and transparency, your next step is to find someone, an individual or a population with whom you are not yet sharing your wisdom. In this year in which we have been compelled to reflect on the lives of so many of our synagogue's earliest members, so many of whom were teachers in our community, we remember the ways in which they lent their very specific areas of expertise to teaching and leading at Congregation Beth Torah, at the JCC, and far, far beyond. Even with all of the humility that knowledge gives us, each person in this room has a wealth of resources, opinions, and information that can benefit more lives than we might think. And of course, when we reach out, when we find ways we can spread our knowledge, we gain all the more knowledge to bring back into our own lives too. As Rabbi Chanina teaches in the Talmud in Masechet Ta'anit, Harbe lamadati me rabotai, I learned much from my rabbis, umechaverai yoter me rabotai, but more than my rabbis, from my friends, umitalmidai yoter mikulan, and most of all, from my students. Shabbat Shalom. We'll continue with Musaf, led today by John Gannett. If you'd like to learn with John, you're welcome to head to the library, but make sure to come back. We could do the installation now. That works.
I'm fine with it.
Okay. Fantastic. What we are going to start out with then is something that we used to say in our Torah service every week. We'll bring it back this morning on page 176. Let's say a prayer. Before we introduce those who are serving our community, let's say a prayer for those who serve the community. So let's say it together in the English, page 176 at the bottom. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless this entire congregation, together with all the other holy congregations, they, their families, and all that is theirs, along with those who devote themselves to establish synagogues for prayer, as well as those who enter them to pray, and those who provide for their maintenance, wine for Kiddush and Havdalah, food for guests, bread for the hungry, tzedakah for the poor, and shelter for the homeless, and all who faithfully devote themselves to the needs of this community and the land of Israel. May the Holy One reward them, remove sickness from them, heal them, and forgive their sins. May God bless them by making all their worthy endeavors prosper, as well as those of the entire people Israel, their brothers and sisters. And let us say, Amen. At this time, I would like to invite up our board. I'd like to first invite up our newest board members. I'd like to invite up Eric Gould, who is our newest communications vice president, Bob Rifkin, who is our newest financial vice president, Jessica Winter is our newest ritual VP. And for at large, for first year, not all of you are here, but I'd love to say everyone's name just in case, just so that you can know who all is our board this year. David Reichman, who is an at-large board member for his first year. Ariella Silberman is an at-large board member, first year. You're welcome to come on up to the bima. Marilyn Robbins is a first-year board member, and Jessica Gottesman is also a first-year board member. And for everyone else, thank you, and come on up to the bima. Our president, David Duchin, executive VP, Neil Bernstein, development VP, Cliff Friedman, education VP, Rachel Levinton, membership VP, Mindy Sue Rubinstein, and secretary, Leah White. Also, Michael Gross is a first-year board member. And for our at-large second-year members, we have Carol Rosen, Crystal Jones, Howard Miles, Sylvia Sheps, Laura Schwartz, Rhonda Duchin, and Jeff Markowitz, and of course our executive director, Katie Babin. Now I'll invite everyone here. I'm sorry, I left my papers back here. But I'll invite everyone to take a piece of paper. We're going to, as a board, read a poem from the new Machzor, an intention for ourselves as leaders of our congregation, and you're welcome to come a little bit closer. We are already a board. We see before us a board filled with people who are compassionate, who are just, it's just in your nature, who step up as volunteers, as role models, as leaders, and it's always still good to set an intention to continue that compassion, to continue that righteousness. So let's read together our intention for the coming year.
May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who are hungry for love, all who are lonely for fellowship. May it welcome all who carry cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture. May the door of this synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity. May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet. May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness. May the synagogue be, for all who enter, the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life.
Amen. And I'm not sure, did I say your name?
She did.
Okay. I must have that. Good. Thank you, Krista. Thank you. And as a reminder to everyone, we learn in just a few chapters in Devarim and Deuteronomy, Ma Adonai Elohecha shoel me'imah. What does Adonai, our God, require of us? To revere, to love, to serve with all of our heart, all of our soul, and to keep the commandments and statutes of Adonai. And so I ask our God and God of our ancestors, bless the leaders of this congregation with wisdom, with vigor, and with understanding. Sustain them with your spirit, Adonai. Grant that their labors be a blessing and a source of blessing. Let us all say, Amen. Thank you for your service, and we are looking forward to the best year that Beth Torah has had so far.
Thank you.
Yasher Koach and Mazel Tov, everyone. We'll invite back to the bima John